Hi everyone and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in southern Tasmania. This is the tutorial video for my May fun fold class, which actually a sentiment only class today. I suppose there's one card there that will qualify as a fun fold. This month we're doing a double one sheet wonder, which I suppose is a convoluted way of saying a two-sheet wonder, but anyway, so it's a double one-sheet wonder. We actually make 5 cards, but I've only got 3 here to show you. I think I've given a couple away. We'll make 5 cards, a single one of this one up here with the strips, and 2 each of these here. So 2 of this one and 2 of that one. I'm only going to make 1 of each because once you've made 1 of those and 1 of those, you can wing it yourself and make the second one just following the same technique. Okay, so that's our 3 cards. As I say, it's a double one sheet wonder. So in your kit, if you grab your kit out, now be very, 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 very extra careful with your kits this time because you've got lots of little delicate die cuts and things in there as well. And your bling, so your iridescent gems and your paper are together in the one plastic slip. So all your gems, if you're looking for them, you think I've shortchanged you your gems, they're actually in with your paper, so don't get too worried about that. So you've got 2 6x6 sheets of paper, so that's our double sheet. You can cut them both at the same time, and I'm going to cut them for you now. I'm going to cut them both separately just to give you 2 looks at the cutting template, and I will pop the picture of the template up on my both my Facebook page and a link to it in my website if you'd like to have a look at that as well later on. Also, if you're watching these classes later on, you'd like to participate in my classes, please email me. Obviously, I can only send kits to Australian customers, but if you're in Australia and like to do my classes, please reach out. Okay, so the cuts with this double one sheet wonder are as such. So if you've got a paper that has a distinct up and down sort of orientation to it, sort of keep it, this has got little birds, so okay, so keep that in mind as we're cutting. So anyway, so the first cut will be I'm going to say horizontally because my pattern distinctly goes up and down, and we're going to cut at 4 inches. So you're cutting your piece of 6x6 into a 4-inch strip and a 2-inch strip. I'm hoping I'm going to get this right, or it could be a very short video. Okay, so a 4-inch strip and a 2-inch strip. So the 4-inch strip, you turn it 90 degrees, and then you can cut it into 3 2-inch panels. So they will be, each of them will be 4x2. So 1, 2, and obviously the last one will be 2 inches by default. As I say, you can cut them both at the same time, line them up and cut them at the same time, but I'll cut these twice so you get 2 looks at it. So that leaves us our 2x4-inch strip. I'm going to cut that in half at 3 inches. So 3 inches. So you're going to get 2 the same at 3x2. I think that's right. Yep. Okay. One of those you will actually just cut straight in half just as it is. So 1.5 by 2. That there. So we've got our 3 2x4, our 2 1.5 by 2, and this one here you're going to cut it into 4 1/2-inch strips lengthwise. Get rid of those. So just 4 1/2-inch strips, longish ones. 1, 2, 1/2 inch, 3, and then by default the last one is 1/2 inch wide, or thereabouts. It might be a bit thicker. Okay, so that's what we've got there. So that's our cutting template. There, so that's what our 6x6 goes into. 2x4 3 times, 1.5 by 2 here twice, and then 1/2 by 3, and that's 4 times. So that's how you're cutting it. Let's do it again with our second one, just so it's well and truly ingrained. So pop those aside and keep them safe. Okay, so our second one, as I said, first cut is to cut it into a 4-inch and a 2-inch. Flip this one 90 degrees and turn it into 3 2-inch wide panels. Grab this one, 4x2, 6x2, cut it into 3 and a 3. Okay, the first one, cut it into half, so it's 1.5 by 2. And then this one into 1/2 inch strips. And you should get 4 of them. There we are. So that's those. Okay, so that's done. We've done that twice. As I say, I'll pop the picture up for you either on my website with a link or on my Facebook page or on the Facebook page. So please pop there and see. Okay, so now we've got all of our paper cut. We can start making our cards. That's probably the most complicated part of this whole class, I think. Okay, so let's bring all this back. So in your kits, we might start with this one because it's the one I've got on top. Okay, so this is just a normal portrait orientation card. It's in white card base, white cardstock card base. You've got a panel of our beautiful boho blue, and that's been popped through the embossing folder, the countryside embossing folder, which for the life of me now I can't remember. I'll just grab my catalogue, just in case you're interested in that one. It's the, where is it? The Countryside Blossoms embossing folder here. It goes with the Countryside suite. So it's really a nice little embossing folder there. So that's the boho blue. Then you've got a strip of another strip of white cardstock, and then we'll use the paper that we've cut to finish this one off. So here's my little kit here. Pop that aside so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so first thing you need to do is just grab your embossed panel, which should be in your kit. Will be in your kit. I'm determined it's in your kit. And we're just going to glue that to our card base. Doesn't really matter which side up you go. Whatever side appeals most, you can pop facing upwards. No ribbon with this class. It's all very simple. Still coming to terms with all the new products, so it was a little bit hard to get ready to do a class this early in the cycle. So a nice one sheet wonder with that little extra bit of those extra 2 cards seemed the way to go. So that's the first step there. Okay, so we'll bring in our paper. So for this one, you need one of your 4x2 strips, plus you need those two little 1.5 by 2s that we made. So it doesn't really matter which way you do this. I would probably, you have to sort of sort it so that you have different ones for each card. So you've got two, obviously you've got two sorts of paper, two sheets of paper, and therefore you've got like 4 patterns. So decide up front which ones you want to use. So your options here, or my options here, I've got this one, the long one, and 2 of the shorter ones. And then I've got this one with the longer one and the 2 shorter ones. So that's going to be the combination for my 2 cards. So I'm going to have to work out which combination I want. So what I'm going to do is I'll have this one with those, and I'll make the other one, this one, with those. So just so you mix up your colours a bit, you don't want them all samey. So what we're going to do is grab these 2 little ones, turn them over. I'm actually going to use the tone on tone side here, and they are going to glue on either side of your card in line with your embossed panel and in line with each other, so that they're a continuous line all the way along, roughly about halfway up the card. Just there, just like that. Okay, that one's a little bit low. That's all right, we'll bring those in. So I'm flipping them over, getting rid of our little birds for this part of it. Just roughly halfway up and down, but in line with that boho blue layer. I need to buy some more wipes, I realise. I've got down to my last few. And then the other one on the other side. Now, the way the card's going to end up, these is going to look like, when it's finished, it's going to look like a continuous layer of the card, the designer series paper. But we've got that little gap in the middle, which we're going to cover over. So hopefully that looks sort of even. It's not going to matter too much if it's not, but that's where you're going. Okay, then we're going to bring in our 4x2. We're going to lay that across the gap. So there you are. You see, you've laid it across the gap. That looks like it's a continuous line behind it, but it isn't. Just you and me know that that's actually a gap in there. We're going to glue that one down. So across the middle, but slightly to one, slightly angled out. And then what we're going to actually do is then bring this piece of white designer series paper in, a white cardstock in, and it's going to lay across the top of that, angled the other way. So just so you know which way we're headed. So just bring those in, position them put them in a position you're happy with, and that's where it's going to be. I'll take that off and I'll glue this one in. So once we've got this glued down, you've got a bit of a decision to make. You can use, and that's why they're there, the die cuts to decorate the rest of this card. I've given you some die cuts. I've given you enough die cuts to decorate all 4 of these themed cards, this one and the other one. You can choose to do some stamping of your own on that white and just, not use so this one's obviously got a die cut there, so you can grab out the die cut and pop it on there and put a sentiment on and you're done. I'm actually going to stamp this one with one of my stamps. That's what we do, isn't it? We stamp. I'm going to stamp it with some of the flowers off the Dainty Delight stamp set. And this one, I thought I would use just this little one here, because I've got to have room for my sentiment, obviously, on this same piece of white. So I thought I'd pop that on there like that. And I'm going to use my Night of Navy, so it's going to be the same sort of effect as a die cut. So one option, pop your die cut on and then put your sentiment, or other way around, sentiment first and then die cut. But I'm going to stamp it, and then I'm going to bring in a sentiment as well. Which sentiment will I use? I've just worked that out before I know. Celebrate You. I might not use out of the Dainty Delight. I might use out of the Cheerful Daisies. I love this one. Your Friendship Means Everything. We might take that one. So I'll grab that one out. Block it up if I can find. I'm going to need a couple of blocks, aren't I? This one. We'll use that one, and we'll use this one. So I'm going to pop the sentiment on first, just so that I leave room for it. So you'll be doing your sentiment first, whichever way you go. Use my, not my Blackberry Bliss, what have I got? I've got my Night of Navy out. So I'm going to use my Night of Navy. You could use any blue. You could probably even use the nice boho blue that's new. I like my Night of Navy. So I'm going to put my sentiment down in the bottom left-hand corner. There we are. Then I'll bring in my little bloom. Hope that big block's big enough. Yep. So you can dress these ones up any way you like. As I say, you can use the die cuts that I've given you and just glue them in. Give this a couple of goes because it's a new stamp. Here we are. Or you can use, anyway, as you say, as I've said, any little floral stamp you've got that you would prefer. If you just want to add that extra handmade look. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Okay, so that's my panel. As I said, I've just popped that there in the Night of Navy, or you can just use your die cut from the kit. Totally up to you. And anyway, I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to lay that, as I mentioned, at an angle as well, across the middle. And I'm gluing that on there. You could pop that on dimensionals if you want to, but I'm just going to, as I say, this is, once you've got that cut, it is the epitome of an easy class, I think. I think you might be groaning and disagreeing with me, but that's what I think. Okay, so final step with this one is we're going to grab some bling. As I said, all your bling is in with your 6x6 pieces of paper, and you should have 15, which means you've got 3 for each card. So 3 gems for each card. So you should have various sizes there as well. So you can go decorating as you wish. I'm just going to pop 3 of these around. There we are. Okay, so there's card number 1. So 2 cards, and you will get 2 that look like this. So either, as I say, with the die cut here that you've been provided with, or stamp it yourself for something a little bit more handmade looking. Just wondering whether I can even bring in some blends and colour those little flowers in a bit with a little blue theme. We'll see. I might have a play with that later on. But as I say, always say, it's your card kit. You can do what you want. You may decide to do something completely different. And if you do, please let me know. Okay, so card number 2, we'll do this one here, which is as close to a fun fold as this particular class gets. For this one, you might want to burnish this card base. You'll get 2 of these as well, the same as you have with the others. I wanted to try and find my original to bring it out and show you. Here it is. No, that's not it. Where did it go? Did I drop it? Oh well, you'll see how it turns out in a minute. Okay, so you've got a card base here. I think it's 9 3/4 long from memory. Oh, as I say, I'll put all the measurements up as I always do on my website. And it has been scored from each end 2 1/8 in. So 2 1/8 in from that end, flip it over, 2 1/8 in from that end. So they fold over, but they don't meet in the middle. And this is going to be a portrait card as well, so it's going to go this way. Then you've got a panel of beautiful Night of Navy, so very much a blue and white themed class, this one. And it's going to sit across there, but it's only going to glue to the top. of the card, obviously. You won't open otherwise. And then you've got another panel of basic white, and it sits across the blue like that. So here you've got two choices for your two cards as well. You're going to use your other remaining 4x2 pieces. You can go 2 in the dark or 2 in one cardstock, and you'll use the other 2 on the other card. So I'm going to use the darker ones, I think. So the next one would be lighter. So I'm going to use the dark ones, but the next one we'll use that one. Okay, so we're just going to glue those 2 pieces of cardstock on. I wonder where that card went. Pushed it onto the floor or something, I think. Now, this one is going to be sideways. Probably didn't think through that very well. Okay, so there's you're going to have a piece there on the top. So this is 2 inches wide, this piece, and 4 inches long, and the card base and the panel it's fitting to is 2 1/8, because that's where we scored it. So it should fit perfectly. And then we'll do the other top, the bottom as well. Now you've all got different paper, because basically I wanted to use every piece of this beautiful Countryside in Designer Series paper. So you may have to choose. Probably one side's a bit darker than the other. So do you want the dark side pointing up? Do you want the light side showing up? It's really up to you. Okay, so our white piece, I'm going to glue to the Night of Navy layer. And again, I thought I would, rather than using the die cuts, you can use, obviously I've given you 2 die cuts that you can choose from to use on this card. You might decide to do one with die cuts and one with stamping. That would be a little bit different. So I'm going to actually stamp this one again. This time I thought, from my Dainty Delight, I would use the larger flower, because this is a larger piece of white. It will still come off the end slightly. Forgive me if this crashes. No, it didn't this time. My nice big block. So the sentiment for this card will go actually on the card base itself, the back of the card base, in this little gap that peeks through. So we're going to pop that one on there, and our sentiment's going to be in there. So we can fill this as much as we like with our beautiful design. So I'll bring in my Night of Navy again. Now this Dainty Delight is exactly what it says on the box. It's very dainty, as you saw with that first one I stamped. So yeah, it's really pretty. So this one I'm going to pop. I'm going to go from one corner to the next, so I get as much of it in as I possibly can. It is going to, as I say, go off the edges a wee bit, both sides, but that's okay. There we are. Isn't that pretty? So that's going to go on there. Could actually pop another little something down in here. I might do that, because I've left myself a little bit of a blank space I didn't anticipate. So there's a cute little grassy flowery bit here, and I might pop that down there just to fill that gap. Could put another sentiment on there if you wanted to. I'm just going to pop a little grassy knoll on there. It's up that way. Yeah, that's lovely. That just fills that little gap quite nicely. I like that. I'll put some bling in there as well. I'll keep that out because I'm going to have to do my sentiment. Okay, so we'll add some glue. As I say, just add the glue to the top third of that panel, just so it glues to the top flap, not the bottom one, and definitely not into the card itself. and then bring that down. Take it over. I'm taking it over to the right-hand side of the card because, as I say, I want to get my sentiment into there. It's going to have to be quite a snugly fit sentiment. Again, I think I might use that "your friendship means such a lot to me" one, so it will fit just nice. But if you've got a favourite little sentiment that you love that just pops in there, just a "for you" or a "love you" or anything like that. There we are. Okay, so that's card number almost. I'll put some bling around. As I said, we'll fill up some blank spaces with some bling. There we are. Okay, so that's card number 2. Flips open like that. A bit hard to stand that one up, really. So whoever you give that one to probably needs a little card stand to put it on, but that's quite pretty. I like that. And then you can write inside. Okay, so that's card number 2. I wish I had my original here that I would have showed you. So anyway, you'll get 2 of those. So the first one using one side of your cardstock, your designer series paper, and the other one using the other 2. So we've used all of those on those 4 cards that we've looked at already. Okay, the last one. Now the last one is probably, well, not the trickiest, but it's got the most happening of all the cards this class. And it's using those 4 or 8 little strips that you cut. The little 1/2-inch strips. And it probably will only use 7 of them. But so the other one you can pop inside, maybe inside one of the other cards or inside this card, just to give a little bit of interest. Okay, so you're going to use these little strips. Now you can choose to use them all facing up that way, but I'm going to turn them and use the other side of a couple as well. So it looks like you've got 4 different pieces of paper here, but you've actually just got the other sides of your 2-sheet wonder. Okay, oh, here we go. There we are. So this one here is the one we're doing. Okay, so you've got in your kit, you've got a Night of Navy card base and a little panel of white that's going to go just straight inside. So we'll do that first. This is where you can pop that spare strip of designer series paper if you want to. This card is a landscape card, so it's going to go lengthways or long ways. It's going to go that way. Okay, so then you've got a piece of white that's going to go straight onto the card front. Nice big border of the Night of Navy showing around the edge there. Okay, forgive the darkness in my room today. It is really dark and threatening some pretty horrific rain. So I'm just working by my my streaming lamp, and even it is struggling a wee bit. Can I make it? No. A little bit extra light, but that's, yeah, it's still artificial light, isn't it? Okay, so our second piece of the second layer is a Night of Navy layer. We're going to use that to mount our little strips. So what we're going to do is grabbing our little strips. The first one we're going to put hard up on the left-hand side. So it should be exactly the same width as your card, and it's going to be hard up there. And then what we're going to do is work our way along, I always start at both ends and then come back in. So this, and put a tiny weeny little gap between each of them, so you'll only hardly see that blue through, but you might see it a wee bit. I think I'm actually going to use all 8. Did I use 8 before? 1, 2, 3. I did use 8. Please forgive me. When I say use, the last one might have to be trimmed off a bit. It's not quite, it's going to overhang a wee bit, so I'm going to have to get my trimmer and trim that. But that's what you're going for. Across the piece, evenly spaced, and lining up top and bottom. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to glue these on. If you find that they are a wee bit longer than I say, I'm not really sure why. Measured them at 3, didn't I? But they are slightly longer than the paper. Anyway, all good. That might just be mine. Might have just been having a bad measuring day. So the little gap between these is, I wouldn't even say a millimetre, less than a millimetre. She says conveniently swapping back to centimetres, and when it suits her, a little bit anyway. Come on, glue. Try and keep them parallel to each other. You don't really want the sort of them leaning backwards and forwards. The effect would be a little bit ruined if they lean a bit. So as I say, just flip them over, use both sides so it looks like you've got 4 pieces, 4 individual patterns. We have got 4 individual patterns. So I suppose in a way this is a scrappy strip card. Yes, that's pretty much what exactly it is, which is quite all right. Anyway, so we'll bring in our last one. It looks like I've done that quite well. I think that's going to line up pretty much exactly by the looks of what I've got left there. Perfect. So that's all 8 of those strips used there, and they line up pretty well. Yep. Okay, so just randomised light, dark, back, front, all the way along there. Now they do overlap a wee bit at the end, so I might grab my trimmer, my guillotine. Hopefully it won't scrunch everything like it's been known to. And I'm just going to trim, take my glasses off for that one, trim them down. Yep, that's better. Here we are. So they're nice and lined up, top and bottom. There we are. Okay, as I say, a little bit fiddly, but not difficult by any stretch. Okay, now we've got our panel with our little 8 strips. Yep. Pop that in the centre of our white on our card front. There we are. Blue and white, my favourite. Okay, and then you've got a little strip of white cardstock there. I've given you sort of a little bit longer and a little bit wider than you probably want to use, just so you can use whatever sentiment you may want, you may like. I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use You Made My Day, and this is also from the Cheerful Daisies. It's a nice little sentiment. On the original card, I'll bring it in so you can have a look. I've got Wishing You the Brightest Birthday, and I think that's from here as well. This is also from Cheerful Daisy, Wishing You the Brightest Birthday. Yeah, that would fit on there as well. So depending on what, I might use Brightest Birthday instead. I haven't made a birthday card today. Again, I'm going to bring in my Night of Navy ink. And bring that a little bit closer to me just so I can get over the top of it. Excuse me if you see the top of my head. There we are. Okay. Now with this one, I'm going to leave one end flat and straight and straight, and the other one I'm going to bring in my banner punch. Now if you've got the banner punch, please grab it, otherwise you can banner with your scissors. There's not a problem there. I might have to bring it back down. I'm going to bring it back down to there. So we've got one end that's bannered and one end that's not. Pop that in there. And I'm going to bring in some dimensionals. First time, only time you need your dimensionals for this class. Those little hexagons of plastic. I'll bring that in so it's just on the blue, but only just, and comes in across from left to right. No, right to left across the card like that. Okay. Bling. 3 bling. As I say, you should have 15 bling, which is 3 for each. Entirely up to you. You might decide to put 15 on one and then none on the others, but I probably wouldn't recommend that too much. But it's up to you. There we are. Okay, so that's card number 3. Well, card number 5, depending on how you do it. So, as I say, with this card class, you should get two of this one. Now I can show you the ones that I've got. 2 of this one, 2 of this one with the embossed panel, 2 of this one with the little central flap. So you use your die cuts or you stamp them yourself. It's entirely up to you. And this little last one is your Scrappy strip technique one. So that's the 5 cards using the 5, using the double, single, double toil trouble. No, double one sheet wonder. There you go. Bit of a mouthful for me this early in the morning. Okay. So hopefully you enjoyed that class. It's a nice little class, nice quick little cards. You could use them, give them to somebody as a present, even in a kit, in a little box with some envelopes. That would be lovely. Anyway, so thanks very much for joining me. Thanks for doing the class this month. Hopefully you will join us for future classes. And as I say, if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards and you'd like to get involved in my classes, please reach out. I have my email address on YouTube, or you can pop over to my Facebook page as well. Okay, so thanks guys for joining me. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time.